to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. You know, we get all kind of interesting stories on this show. And remember, this show is about education, empowerment, and a hell of a lot more. But more importantly, keeping that beast frame of mind. The beast mindset is the new way of thinking, but the situation is we've always had that beast mentality. This young lady came on and shared her story with me through a pre-interview, and we talked, and I was so amazed by this story and really blown out of my mind that certain things can go on in this country and we're truly oblivious to it. Today on the show, we have a young lady, a doctor, who's going to share her pain, her journey in a third world country. Remember, don't judge what you don't know. So we're going to sit here and we're going to listen. We're going to listen with empathy, compassion, and more important, deep understanding. I'd like to welcome to the show, Dr. Elisabeth Princeton. Welcome to the show.
Andre, thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you. When we talked for like an hour and a half on the phone that one time, it was just like a soulmate.
Thank you.
Sorry I'm not there to see you in person, but I'm sure that day will come.
It will come. You know what? Let's get right down to it. Tell the viewers a little bit about Dr. Elisabeth Princeton before we get right into your story.
Like about who I am, my upbringing. So I was raised in the South in what I call a cult, a Christian education my entire life. And at 14 years old, I said, if this is what God, Christianity, family, relationships are all about, I want nothing to do with it. And at 14 years old, I began to become a true seeker and a true speaker. Left home at 17, went 3,000 miles away to a crazy state called California. Got off a plane and I went, holy shit, where am I? Wanted to talk to everybody's mama and talk to them in regard to the lost art of femininity and masculinity. And I came out here, met my husband, long story short, came out on a music scholarship, but I gave up my music gift in order to have a voice and began to speak. Married my husband, have two amazing boys. And from there, got married and got diagnosed with a disease called multiple sclerosis. And that was the first time I went against family, friends, and everybody and just said there has to be another way. Chose to believe in what I didn't see, and God really blessed me being able to find another way and healing my body from a disease, which at that time they told me I would have and be in a wheelchair and never be able to run again. And that brought me into a holistic lifestyle. And so for 26 years now, I've been helping people embrace their uniqueness, get in alignment with who God created us to be, and find another way in healing their life. From there, my story goes into being a single mom, helping those who are divorced and dating. And then from there, taking my practice when I came back from Africa into helping people have PTSD and trauma, as I had taken my life down to 5 grades from Orange County, California. Got on a plane, told my kids goodbye as if I would never see them again, and went to a third world country to serve and was hoping to be there for 5 years. I was only there for 5 months. Second day in Africa, only being married 2 weeks. My husband hurt me and gonna tear up a little bit. And from there, it's been a long journey back, but it's taken me 3 years to heal my brain from PTSD. And stepped into doing my practice again.
Hold that thought for a minute, Elisabeth. First of all, let me say thanks for coming on and sharing this story, because I know how deep this story goes. So I'm going to take you into the mind of what I think the viewers might want to ask as far as questions, okay? You said you was in the EEC, which is, I forgot what the word actually means, but a church organization. You saw things that was different at a young age, and you said, this isn't me. What was the things that you saw that really opened your mind? Because you're talking about an organization, and churches usually have this what I call the blueprint to stand in their organizations. Um, you broke away from the norm. What was the things that you saw that made you break away from the norm, first of all?
So I want to make a distinction. I was never the norm. I was being conditioned,
Okay.
programmed to be a part of a system that I didn't agree with and still don't to this day. And it's becoming out. There's more truth seekers and truth speakers out there to this day than there ever was when I started at 14 years of age.
When you say
And
a system, what do you mean a system and you was being programmed? Well, give the viewers an example, because clearly you know how you was being programmed, or you see the program, you saw the matrix. What is it?
oh, the whole world is matrix. We're programmed to think a certain way and to believe a certain way. And really, at the end of the day, who creates that system? A
Mhm.
human being who's what? A human being just like you or I. And so why do we choose to go along with the system instead of being in alignment with who we're created to be? And that's actually where true freedom lies. And so at 14 years old, my mom would say, that's a tree. Why is that a tree? That's a car. Who said that's a car? That's pink. Why is that pink?
Mhm.
And it just never resonated with me in regards to the truth that I was being told was truly the truth. And so, to this day, I question everything that comes into my path, especially when it comes to the medical field or anything that's on TV. Or this is why I read a lot and I study a lot, because I am here to know the truth, and not for the truth of what's being told to me, but the truth of my creator who created me.
Some
Because we're
people,
all fallen individuals.
some people will
We
say,
have our own narrative, and we judge things and make assumptions
yeah,
of the things that we think we know, when really at the end of the day, what do we know?
but some
The only
people,
thing that we know is what's in alignment with him.
some people will question that. But like you said, you knew you was different from the get-go. So when you bought your emotions and your feelings to the teachers in this sector,
Mhm.
questions and answers is what we might call them, what was their response to you?
Honestly, they
Yeah.
said you're unique and you're special.
Did they agree with anything that you was feeling and thinking and your philosophy to life?
You have some very good questions. I've never thought about that before.
Wow. And that's as far as they took it.
And at 18 years old, God brought me two mentors in my life, Dr. Dan Allender and Dr. Larry Crabb. And that was the beginning of transformational change for me, of which I still have mentors in my life to this day, and they're always changing, because I can't become the best version of myself unless I have other people mirroring back to me who I am and calling me out to see something greater than I can see of myself, because we're limited. I only have this much that's presented to me now. When I'm 80 years old, I'll be like, oh my goodness, I wish I had that when I was 55.
When
We're
you
always
say,
in progression.
when you say the two people that came into your life and started enlightening you, let's call it what it is, an enlightenment phase.
Mm.
What were some of the things that they shared with you to let you know you was on the right path? Because you're dealing with a system that conditions, not just conditions yourself, but conditions the masses all over the world, which we're going to get into in your journey to Africa. So we don't let the people, we're going to put the pieces together so it makes sense. So
Okay.
all of a sudden you got questions, and let's just say the universe brings in time the right individuals. So now these two individuals come into your life, but you also had the organization that says, that validated that, hey, you're smart, you're blah, blah, blah. So you're not labeled as crazy. So these two individuals come into your life at 18. What do they bring to your life?
They began to show me that there's another way, because I was raised, and we are raised in the society in regards to who are you? People say it's your job. What have you accomplished in your lifetime? I'm not my accomplishments at all whatsoever. And so the way most of us are, even to get our self-worth and our value, is if you do this, this, and this, I'm going to love you. Or we even say to ourselves, if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to love myself. And that's all false. And so for the first time in my life, I didn't have to do a list of things to do in order to get love, approval, self-acceptance, to be told that I'm good enough for anybody. And then I realized I'm good enough just as I am, just in my presence and being, because our whole society is rigged into doing. And how is that? Where is that getting us? Nowhere. It's in the presence of being, but we don't even know who we are. And we're searching for meaning outside of ourselves, and where are we finding it? We're not. And so at the end of the day, we go, what is this life all about? And you're 80 years old and looking back going, I don't even know what my purpose was. And then we wonder why we have health issues, right? The world is going to shit in a handbasket. It's because we don't know who we were created to be, and there's no freedom. There is just a list of things to do in order to be what society says we're supposed to be.
You're 18 years old. Life is, as we know it and what is classified, your journey's just beginning. How many other individuals were on that same path when you met the two enlightenments of your journey?
Not many.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, my
Did you
entire
begin
life
to question?
my entire life has felt very lonely.
So now you get on a plane. You get on a plane.
How do you get on a plane?
You get on a plane and you go to California, Los Angeles, city of lights, dreams, Hollywood.
City of insanity, my friend.
You went from here to Sodom and Gomorrah, basically. What happened?
I was supposed to be here, though. It's my learning ground.
What happens when you get to California?
Shook me up. Got to see things I had never experienced before, never knew. I live in Orange County right now. That's totally different than LA. And everywhere God has ever placed me has been to help me have my eyes open to see a different way of being and cultures, so that I can meet people where they're at. Because the more I'm exposed to other cultures and other way of being, the more I'm able to meet people where they're at, no matter where they are in the world.
You're in Orange County. You're meeting everybody from the housewives of Orange County. What are you experiencing? Because let me clarify the message here so people can understand. Because I know they're going, what's this about? This is about a journey, not just any journey. This is about a young lady that questioned the system, saw things that didn't appear to be what they were supposed to be, and now she's taking a journey. So let's continue this conversation. You're in Orange County. You clearly said that you've been put in situations, or let's put it what it is. We've been put in situations to evaluate, analyze. We're going to make some stumbling blocks, but what did we learn from that? Whose lives did we change, and so forth? You're in Orange County. You meet the housewives of Notre Dame. No. The housewives of Orange County. You meet everybody with money. You name it, it's there. How's your life changed now? Now what happens to you?
God always puts you in places that you're supposed to be, not only to learn, but also to be the light for others, to show people what's possible, that there is another way. And so, so that's why I'm here in Orange County.
How do people perceive you? You just can't bring this type of information into everybody's space. Let's be real. Everybody,
what do you think it's like when you tell
everybody
people?
ain't ready to be unplugged, and everybody
so
ready to take the green or the blue pill. You in Orange County. Before we continue your journey, how do you navigate? How do you negotiate? How do you cultivate a friendship, a relationships there?
My close friendships are not in California. They're in other places throughout the world. And I am here to serve and to be a vessel, to be a light, to show people that there is another way, and to be here when people are ready, willing, and able to step into learning a different way in order to become in alignment with who they're created to be, and not a way of being that they become because the society a culture that they've chosen to live in and to give people hope. Because at the end of the day, no matter what people's lifestyles look like, especially here in Orange County, it is the number one disease of women here in Orange County is their adrenals are blown out and their cortisol levels are high. Why? Is because they might have more money than God, but they're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. At the end of the day, they are not happy.
Let's go.
And it's the worst relationships I have ever seen, by the way, in all my traveling throughout the world, but also especially in the United States.
Speaking of traveling across the world, let's go deep into this, even deeper. You get married, you go to Africa. What was that like for you? You're still on the mission, but you're in
Well, I
Africa.
want to back up for a second and say on my Facebook, it came up Uganda. And I have known this person since 4th grade. We graduated high school together. And I wrote him and said, I would love to come meet you and your wife one day, not knowing he was divorced. And he said, well, you're welcome anytime. And literally, Andre, I said these words is, well, if God wants me to, he'll make it happen. And within 1 year, I was in Uganda. 1 year. You talk about God moving in mysterious ways or declaring it, and so it is, and so it comes to pass.
So you was talking to this guy for a year and had no idea he was divorced or married or nothing. You just developed a friendship?
I have tons of people on my social media. And so, but Uganda came up one day and I said, oh my goodness, I would love to come see you and your wife. Just resonated with me. I could see myself going there. And I just like, after I wrote that, I go, that is the strangest thing, Elisabeth, you have ever done. And I started looking into Uganda and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to Orange County. That would be the craziest everything, ever. I'm just going to go visit to see how I can be a vessel to be used to help the women and the children in the villages.
Okay, so you go to Africa, then what happens? You meet the guy, you go there, what happens?
Well, he pursued me 9,500 miles away. And then he came and we chose to get married. We got married here in the States. And then he went before me. And then 2.5 weeks later, not even that, 2 weeks later, I left and went by myself 9,500 miles away. The first time I've ever flown that far by myself. And the second day in Africa, he hurt me. And I had to go to a third world country hospital and have my arm popped back into socket after being on bumpy roads. So the roads aren't like here in the States. It's like Indiana Jones on steroids for 45 minutes to an hour to the hospital. And popped my elbow back in. I ended up having 2 PTs there that one was Ugandan and one was American, and to give him exercises to do for my elbow. But because of his position with a missionary organization, he did not have time to do what was required to help my elbow heal. And so
when you say this, let me clarify something. This isn't a show about domestic violence. So let's clarify that right off the bat. Something did happen, wasn't condoned on and stuff, but the bottom line, your mission and your horrors went even deeper than that. So take the viewers a little bit more into that when you got your elbow, trying to get your elbow and medical attention and so forth.
So I don't know if you believe in spiritual warfare or if you believe in the demonic field. Demonic, but it does very much exist. And the first month in Africa, my home, for the first time ever since, because he was already there, he'd been there 5 years, had attempted robbery 3 times.
It had one now? Your home was what? Your home was what?
Attempted robbery 3 times.
Wow.
And the thing about a third world country is this: I lived in a compound. I locked myself in my house every night as if I was in a jail cell. That's the only way to stay safe. I had a wall around my home. I had a guard dog who they would actually throw me over to the dogs to try to poison them to death. So then they could come over into your compound and try to break in and steal your stuff.
Okay, hold down a minute. Hold down. There are several questions I got to ask. I know the viewers are like, you better ask these questions. The first question is, did you do your research on this dude before you got on the plane 9,000 some odd miles?
I've known him since 4th grade.
Okay.
And we have mutual friends. And yeah, I
So
graduated with him from high school.
but when you get there, I mean, get real. Uganda, I'm doing some research. I'm doing some recon before I get on that plane. Did you do any recon?
I did a ton of research. I watched videos, the whole 9 yards.
And there was, so the viewers can understand where this story is going to lead to in a minute. So you did your recon. So you looked at videos that was provided by travel agencies and so
No, just on YouTube and stuff, and did research.
And there was nothing about guard dogs and you got to live
I
in
had
a
no
compound.
idea. So one of the main themes of all the missionaries have said to me in their 20, 25 years, because some of them have lived a long time, they have never seen anyone under so much demonic oppression as that I did. And they were surprised I even made it out of Uganda alive. The home I even lived in, Andre, had an eerie, I'm very sensitive and I'm the spirit, had an eerie feeling to me, and I didn't understand why. Come to find out, they had done a child sacrifice before they built the home.
Explain to the viewers what demonic energy actually is.
So demonic energy, so we have the light and we have the dark, and so demons would like to possess us, and you'll actually see that on the news these days when people are talking in tongues or they're doing crazy things. A lot of people on the streets actually these days, because they're homeless, are actually full of demonic beings, which is why they act out, they're angry, they kill people, and they do crazy things. They are overtaken by something, which is the demonic, the demons inside of them, and the only way to get them out is to rebuke them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's not something that we take very lightly. It's very powerful, and it's beyond what the human has to be. You have to step into the spiritual space, because we live in a human space, but really at the end of the day, we can't take this body with us. The only thing that goes with us is a spirit, and the spirit world is right here. And we are always in a war with the opposite side if we are the light. And the more light you are, the more demonic oppression and the more oppressed you become. And so it's very important to have a shield up, to be in connection with your creator, to your God, so that you can help the body sustain such demonic attacks. I would walk down the streets and I could feel the demonic spirits around me. And if they so choose, they could actually take a voodoo doll and begin to do torture to you, even though they aren't with you. And some people don't understand that realm, but it's very prevalent, and it's becoming even more prevalent in today's society, just because how much despair, anguish, and pain, and just how vile and
What does
how
a
much
person
sin
need?
is going on in the world.
What does a person need to have of you to take a voodoo doll and do torture to you? I mean, you got to breathe on them? Do they got to take something of you? I mean, how does this stuff even? People will be watching and say, you know what, that sounds crazy, but you've seen it. How do a person take possession of something and put it in a voodoo doll and quote unquote throw demonic
It's a spirit.
entities on you?
It's a spirit. It's the spirit world. So people have a hard time relating it because they want to be in the material world. You have to put yourself outside of yourself. You are a soul, Andre, at the end of the day. Okay. God created you, okay, to come here for one reason. It was to do his purpose. Okay. You have Satan, who does not want that to happen, because he does not want good to happen. He likes oppression. Okay. He likes to make people cry out in pain and serve his wicked deeds and abuse people and use people and kill people, which is not God's design. Okay. So when you go into a society and you're out to do good, especially in a third world country, the more light and power that God has given you, the more you're going to be under demonic oppression.
So,
and it's really important to make sure you're in God's word and that you are surrounded as much as you can by people praying over you, so that you can rise up and do what God's called you to do there.
So you're in this compound. You're in this compound and you feel the forces. You feel the forces of evil. It's almost like Star Wars. You feel you're the Jedi, but you feel the forces. And people need to understand this is your journey. So don't be judgmental. This is her story. So you're the Jetta, you feel these things, you realize from people that told you that child sacrifices and stuff was going on in this house, torture, the energy is overbearing. You share this with your husband? Who did you share all this stuff with?
He was not as in tune as myself. And and that's okay. Men over there get caught up more into it being Indiana Jones on steroids and doing the mission, gonna go do this and going to do that. But even when you have guards in a third world country, and I had 2 guards that protected me, you don't know which side they're actually on, because one minute they can say they're for you, and at the same time they could be paid off by somebody else in order to come into your compound and do whatever they need to do. Just
You
like when you go on the
mentioned being
streets.
a white woman was even more dangerous from America, that you can be sold into prostitution, ransom. I mean, with all of this going on,
Mhm.
I understand you was there to try to make a difference. But you seen all this going on. Didn't your husband see it going on? Didn't you guys say, look, I got to get up out of here?
He wouldn't let me go back to the United States for 5 months, but he didn't really understand. I would actually look at people and say, and it wasn't really what I was experienced, because I would walk along the streets, Andre, okay, and there would be a man who'd just been beaten the night before with no clothes on, and I wanted to call 911. There is not 911 to call, and I cannot touch him or even try to help him. Number 1, because of language difference, and number 2, because of AIDS. Okay.
What? Because of AIDS? Where's the
Very
medical?
prevalent.
Where's the police? Where's the concierge? Who's there to help you in these situations? Because that's not what you see on television.
It's a third world country, and here's why you don't see it on TV. Just like I said earlier, which is exactly why you don't see things in our own country these days on TV. Why? They don't want the truth to be out there. They have to distort the truth, and what you see on TV is not the truth. Okay, so you go behind the scenes. Okay, I knew as a child that I was going to use whatever happened to me, and I was going to turn around and turn it to sunshine and help people. I'm a truth seeker and a truth speaker, and it's not a light thing to do. And some people, that's not who God created them to be, and that's okay. But even on the street corners, Andre, there's children grouped on the street corners, sleeping together because they have no parents, because they died of AIDS. Okay, they beg on the streets every day for food. Okay, there was a man in a wheelchair. He has a disease. All of his hands had fingernails and fingers had knobbed off. He'd roll himself. I would run on these dirt streets and push him in his wheelchair for about 1.5 miles until I couldn't push it anymore. He was going to go 15 miles to go see a doctor. Okay, 15 miles to go see a doctor.
With so much,
the PTSD I got was not from the experiences I got. It was because behind closed doors, my husband was saying things and going on stage and declaring, look what God does. Okay. And at home, belittling me, saying I was too perfect, too pretty. He didn't have time to fix my arm. I had 2 Ugandan children I was to take care of. My oldest would call me. He told me to get off the phone because, I had 2 Ugandan children to take care of, and the whole 9 yards. That is where the PTSD and trauma got from it, especially when the Christian church told him to go home and put his wife in line. Okay.
were your
Which was
children there
actually
with
wrong
you?
because they didn't understand, and they did understand. They just didn't want to step into it.
Were your children there with you in Uganda?
Oh no, I left my kids in the United States, and I told them goodbye, because when you go to a third world country, you might not come back. So in order to say goodbye, in our country, we say, we'll see you later. Well, if you never see that person again, it actually does more trauma on your nervous system if they were to leave than if you were actually say goodbye. There's something that goes on in your brain. So I actually told my kids goodbye as if I would never see them again, but they know their mother. Okay. And my kids are older and they know that's who I am. But the moment my ex-husband hurt me is the moment my kids just lost their shit.
Why was the church and your husband being blinded by what was going on? And more importantly, this is your husband. I mean,
It's normal.
it was
That's
normal for them
normal
to do this,
in Christian churches or in churches, period.
to turn their
The
cheek
woman is
about
to
what's
submit
going
to the
on.
husband.
What's the worst thing? And I know this is a troubling question for you. You're overseas in a third world country. And you just can't leave. We clarify that. You got to stay there for, you can't call what about the embassy? Let's say that. What about the US Embassy?
You know how far that was from me? And my phone didn't work half the time, darling. It's not like here. No. And then you have a different cell line. You know, there was places on the internet I could not even have access to because it was prohibited. Even something as simple as like Allegiant Airlines. Nope, for some reason, couldn't get access to it in Uganda. I wouldn't have electricity for days. I might not have water for days. It is a third world country. You are lucky if you get 4 things done in the daytime, and that includes a shower.
But
Okay.
it's been a big old compound. That's almost like, where you live at now. I mean, ain't these a mansion? I mean, don't you have all these things? I mean, you probably live in, people would say, the glamorous life out there. But that wasn't the case. What was,
No, you know, it's
what,
the most beautiful place and the most beautiful people for all the heartache that they actually endure. And the women will smile at you, and yet their husbands come home literally from being out all day, doing nothing, coming home, expect her to literally be in a trench coat naked, have sex, beat her. She feeds him, and he'll leave her in blood and beaten in front of the children as he goes out and drinks that night. That is how barbaric the society in Uganda is.
what's the church's place there? Because you sharing this story, the churches are going to be like, that doesn't happen over here.
Oh, it does.
But why is the churches there in your opinion?
The
Evidently,
churches
they're
are
not
there
making a difference.
because you can only change the society by starting with the children. You can't start with the adults. The adults are already ingrained into a philosophy or a way of being. So you start with the children and start trying to ingrain in them a different way, and to also show them that this is not the way people treat you. I worked with girls who had been mutilated, Andre, mutilated. Missionaries come over and they want them to talk about how they were mutilated, to try to talk through trauma. That is not how you deal with trauma. The best way to deal with children who've been traumatized and mutilated is to give them a piece of paper and let them draw. Because as soon as they begin to articulate it, you're re-triggering a nervous system. And this is where missionaries go over wanting to do good, but they do a lot of harm.
How do they do a lot of harm? Because they don't teach, they don't have the technique to show them how to deal with trauma.
They don't.
You're over there. How do you come back? How do you get back? How do you get back? How do you get back, first of all, before I ask my next question? How do you get out of that situation, escape your husband, escape the fact that you're trying to do good to the universe and it didn't pan out quite the way that you thought? How do you get back?
Exactly the way it needed to have gone, and I'll share with you why. But when I was in Uganda, I would look at people and tell them I'm losing my mind. I went to Kampala. My husband took me. I saw a psychiatrist there. The number one problem that they deal with in Africa is PTSD and trauma from all the abuse. Okay. And he gave my husband a list of things to do to help my nervous system out. My husband never did them. And I went back again, and he brought my husband and said, it's because of what you didn't do. It was required. So your wife could thrive here. They put me on 600 milligrams of meds, 600 milligrams of meds. And so my husband finally agreed to let me come back to the United States. I did come back to the States. I came directly here to Orange County after I saw my kids in Oregon, and I lived out of an Airbnb for about a year to have my elbow worked on after I was already trying to get my elbow worked on in Africa. So that was a good year and a half. And then from there, my husband came back out from Uganda, and I met him, and for about a month journeyed with him, and then explained to people who thought I was batshit crazy. And I began to explain to the supporters of us what was truly going on behind closed doors. And from there, it was a game changer. And then I had him served with divorce paperwork before he left to go back to Uganda.
You didn't press
And I had to
charges?
become a resident of the United States, by the way, in order to serve him paperwork. So that takes me 6 months because I was a resident of a third
I
world
was
country.
getting ready to say that he has to be cross the state lines or whatever, the country lines, in order to even be. Did you prosecute?
But I had to be a resident of my own country, and that took me 6 months to do. So I couldn't do it right away.
Did you press charges? So you're back at the States. How do you move forward with your life? I love the fact that you're sharing the
Surrender.
story, but how do you keep your mission going with so much darkness to overcome in this world? And my hats off to you for sharing this story. We're going to definitely come back with a part 2 because I know this journey goes a heck of a lot deeper. But 30 minutes, we can't get into all of it, but we're definitely going to do a part 2 to this. But with so much darkness, you witnessed the darkness in Africa. I hope that when we air this, that some changes have happened over there. But what's next for you now?
What's next for me? Well, in surrendering, okay, is how I healed my brain because I didn't know if I could ever come back up. And in my surrendering, God blessed me. And it took me 3 years. And now I am stepping back into my purpose, which is helping people, building my platform on social media to help people heal their own lives because God has been so gracious and so kind in helping me and showing me that there's another way. And that's really my purpose, and to step into speaking and writing again and to show people what's possible, to empower and inspire people to step into their greatness, no matter, Andre, what's been done to us. Because whatever's been done to us doesn't define us. We
What-
become a version of ourselves we could have never become
Right.
if it wasn't for what we've been through. And I'm a testimony of that, and so many other people are. You have your own story,
Right.
right? That you share with others, and you empower and you inspire other people, and you have them go, oh my goodness. And what do they say? Because of you, I didn't give up. Or because of you, you gave me hope. And Andre, that's what we're here for. We're a light in the midst of the world to show them, hey, don't give up. You have a purpose. Here, let me help you. Take my hand. And then when we help somebody, guess what they do? Lord willing, they go and take those same things that they learned and they go and bless others. And that is how we change the world, one person at a time.
You have 2 kids. They're grown now.
I do.
Have you shared with them your journey?
Oh, they know.
How do they react to their mom and their mom's quest for happiness in this world?
It was really hard on my kids when I first came back because they had lost their mother and they didn't know if I could ever come back. And now my kids are very leery if I decide to ever get married again. Because I have 2 very protective boys, but my kids know who I am and know what I'm called to do. And they want to see me complete my PhD, and they want to see me back on stage speaking and sharing with people what's possible. My oldest is the one who said to me years and years ago, Mommy, you know what you are. This is where the term came up. You're a holistic lifestyle designer / counselor. And I said, what? He says, yes, you help people because of your own story to help them heal their own lives.
When
show that there's another way.
you say holistic lifestyle, share with the viewers exactly what that means from your standpoint.
Okay, so when I reversed multiple sclerosis 26 years ago, I realized I caused my disease. My body was manifesting symptoms. The body had always been manifesting symptoms, but what did I do? I just told it to shut up. And then I realized my thoughts, my words, my ways of being, what was on my nervous system, right? My spiritual life, the people I had in my space, right? And you go through, I work with 12 dimensions of wellness. When any of them are out, it affects the other areas of your life. So I'm holistic. You're in a relationship that doesn't work well for you. Okay, how does that affect your emotions? How does that affect your relationships? How does it affect your finances? How does it affect your spiritual life? You have one bad egg and it's already affected 5, and I work with 12. And one of them, Andre, is the art of femininity and masculinity. And when we as women step outside of that and become saying, we're the warrior queen, hear us roar, that's not who God created us to be. And then we become doers to the point of exhaustion. And then we wonder why we're sick and we're depleted and we have nothing to give and we have no light to shine. And then men, guess what? You guys become sick too because you have a ball busting woman, you've been castrated, and you're like, okay. And so men have health issues also. So one of the dimensions I work with is to help men get their balls back, and for women to step into their beauty and awe and be vulnerable, open, and available to a man who's going to protect them, honor them, and cherish them, and provide them security, which is God's design.
Why do you think this is happening? Why do we have the role switch all of a sudden? Why do you think that is?
We talked about Satan earlier. Satan's game plan. It's got to do that, right? Got to break us down. Because what does that do? We're spinning. We're lost. We're more confused, right? Debt is at the highest. Suicide's at the highest. Mental health is at the highest, right? We aren't a whole society. We aren't even a whole person. People have lost their way. They're lost. They're spinning. And it's all because of Satan. Satan wants this.
What do you recommend?
Wants this because they get to control us.
What do you recommend people do? If you had to give a blueprint right now, before we wrap up, if you had to give a blueprint right now with what you went through, overcoming, still dealing with trying to bring universal enlightenment and harmony to individuals, the world, what's your blueprint for people? Give them 4 things they need to do to start that journey to see what you see. Your husband didn't see it. Certain friends didn't see it. The church didn't see it. A few members saw that you had a gift. They didn't say you was crazy. Give me 4 things that people need to start working on to at least understand how to wake up.
Stop. That's the first one, is stop. Stop pushing. Stop going. Stop. Because when we stop, then we can actually okay, wait a minute, what is really occurring around us?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to our instincts and our intuition. God gave us those for a reason, and we don't listen to them. We listen to everything outside of ourselves, and we don't listen because we actually have within us the truth if we stop and we dare to listen. The third thing, you got to go back to the foundation of who you are. People don't know who they are, and the only way to find out that is going to be the third. It's going to step back into, you are a spirit. You were created for a reason. Your spiritual life is the basis of every change into your entire life for you to step into who you're created to be. And then from there, 4 would begin to ask questions or work with someone like myself to help guide you, because all I'm is guide. Okay, to help guide you into you discovering your true authentic self, to where you find meaning, joy, and happiness in ways that every single person I work with is longing for and they have not found. And I'm going to say this at the end. It's not an easy journey, but it's not about being easy, because look at life right now. It's not easy. And where's it getting us? Nowhere. It's about doing what's required. It's intentional, purposeful living, embracing your uniqueness so you can heal your heart, body, your mind, and your spirit with dignity, sanity, integrity, and love.
How can the viewers reach you?
They can reach me at my website, which is dr.elisabethprinceton.com, and it's Elizabeth with an S. Or you can find me on all social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
I like all that. You know what? I'm glad you're back in the States. I'm glad we was able to connect. The universe always puts people in that space. You're definitely what I call beast. You know, you came through it. You're still conquering. You're not letting nothing hold you back.
Well, a warrior king and a warrior queen, we know. You just know. It's nothing that we have to say. It's the spirit within us, right? You just know.
Yeah. I'm gonna have you come back. I know you got more of this story. We didn't have enough time, but once again, my hat's off to you. Thanks for coming on, sharing that story. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dr. Elisabeth Princeton and the Andre the Beast Crayton.